Hey everyone, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and welcome to part 3 of my pop EDM production series in Logic Pro 10. In this video, we're going to work with the vocals in the intro of the song, and it's essentially just a tamed down version of what is sung in the hook build-up part, and it is a completely different recording. When we were in the studio, I told the singer to try to sing this section with less intensity here, make it be a little bit more warm sounding and tamed down. But the problem is her voice type just comes off as very bright no matter what we do. And so it's kind of a little bit more in your face than I'd like it to be for this intro. So we're going to take some steps to tame it down a bit and add some reverb and delay as well. Also remember, if you'd like to work along with me, this whole multi-track session in Logic is available for download. I'll put a link to it in the video description below. So the first thing we're going to do, is let's listen to it real quick. Let's just give this a listen.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be. Tell me how I'm fearless, tell me I'm your weakness. You got it bad, so bad, so bad.
Alright, cool. Just so you guys know, the vocals are pretty unprocessed, but there is some processing on them already. I typically do this in the studio whenever we record really anything. There's a little bit of EQ and compression on input. There was also some flex time done to it, just minor little timing fixes. But when we get to the verses and the chorus, we're going to be doing some heavy time correction with flex time over there. So we'll eventually get to that, but in the intro, the flex time was already done. When we recorded this, we used a Flea 47 microphone, which is it's like a clone of a Telefunken U47. For a preamp, we used the new Neve Shelford preamp channel strip. I decided that I didn't really like the EQ on it as much as our Manly Massive Passive EQ, so I ended up going with that for EQ, just for a little bit of a sibilance boost and a little bit of a body boost. And then I used the LA2A, of course, as the compressor. But basically, when I'm in the studio, I always run vocals, especially, but I always run instruments through some processing on input, because I find that using multiple soft stages of compression and processing rather than one hard stage always ends up giving me a better result. So there is, like I said, what I was getting to is there is some minor light processing on the vocals already. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some EQ. Really, all I'm going to do is scoop out the low end up to about 80 or 90 hertz, and this is just gonna cut out any sort of like low frequency guttural noises. And then in the high end, all I'm gonna do is just put like just a tiny little sort of sibilance boost, and I'll put this around, I'll say 12,000. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to kick in the low pass filter and just sort of cut out, let's say like the 18,000 range, just to get rid of like the very sort of like ultrasonic frequencies, ultrasonic overtones in her voice. Now this isn't really going to do really anything to subdue the voice or warm it up at this point, but we'll be adding some other stuff later that will. So normally, if you've seen my other tutorials, sometimes what I'll do with vocals is I'll add like a little 2K bump, and that just helps bring out some of the body in the voice, just like a real narrow little bump like that. We're not going to do that here because it just doesn't need it. We want her to be more subdued. We don't want her to come through in the mix anymore than she already is here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some compression. So we'll add our compressor under Dynamics Compressor. And the circuit that we're going to use for this is the Vintage Opto circuit. It's an optical circuit. It's going to be probably the clearest, but also sort of like the softest compression circuit that's here. I wouldn't say it's modeled after an LA2A, but it's the closest thing in Logic to an LA2A that you're going to get. That's a stock plugin in Logic. So we're going to take this real soft. Let's try like a 3-to-1, not even a 3-to-1. Let's try like 25. We may even pull that up a bit. Let's go with a soft knee. So let's pull this up quite a bit. Open up the attack time a little bit, just so the front ends of some of her words can come through better. The release will pull up a little bit, and we'll keep the auto on. One thing I hate that the compressors in Logic automatically do is they automatically kick on the auto gain. I don't like that, so I like to turn that off and then adjust the makeup gain manually myself. We're gonna keep the distortion on off, keep the mix on 100% for now, and let's give this a listen.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be.
Yeah, we probably could use a little bit more, so let's pull the threshold down and the ratio up.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be.
And part of the problem with us not getting some more compression, more like level compression, is because the actual input signal coming into the compressor is not very loud. So let's actually pull up the input signal. And what we may end up doing is adjusting the output signal and adjusting the makeup gain and playing with some of these other parameters after we do that. You want to make sure that the signal that's actually going into the processing unit is loud enough to actually, especially with compression, the signal going into the compressor is loud enough and high enough so that you actually get some effect out of the compressor. So sometimes I see people putting like really, really quiet signals into compressors and thinking that that's going to do anything, and it's really not, because the signal going into the compressor is not hot enough to actually do anything. So let's give that a shot.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be. Tell me how I'm fearless, tell me I'm your weakness. You got it bad, you got it bad, so bad, so bad.
There you go. So with like a 3-to-1, about 25 threshold. Knees almost all the way up. About 15, 16 milliseconds for the attack. About 100 milliseconds for the release. Auto is on. Auto gain is off. Makeup gain's pulled down just like 2 dB. And then I pulled the mix to about 87%. So we're hearing just a little bit of the original uncompressed signal in there as well. All right, let's listen to that with everything in the mix.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be. Tell me how I'm fearless, tell me I'm your weakness. You got it bad.
There we go, and then we can just pull down our fader to kind of blend her in the mix a little bit better. All right, the last thing we're going to do is a little bit different. I normally don't do this with vocals unless I'm trying to intentionally soften the vocals. Everything we've done so far right now is just sort of flattening out the vocals dynamically. What we really want is we want her to sound softer and warmer. Again, I'm thinking more like, in my head, I'm thinking like Adele singing like a soft passage, but this singer is very bright, very poppy, so not that we're ever going to get her to sound like Adele. I just want to sort of warm up her naturally bright character. So what we're going to use is believe it or not, the Multipressor plugin, which is a multi-band compressor. And if you don't know it, it's under Dynamics, by the way. So if you don't know what multi-band compression is, imagine that you can have up to 4, at least in this plugin, up to 4 different compressors. You can pull these in and pull them out. You can just have maybe 2 bands if you want. But what you can do is you can have up to 4 different compressors, each with their own frequency range. So compressor number 1 here is only compressing the signal from 20 hertz to 160 hertz, around 160. So how do I know that's 160? Because right here is the crossover frequency. That's showing you the crossover frequency between band 1 and band 2, or compressor 1 and compressor 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a middle crossover at about 770 hertz. And then the upper band, we're going to lower this significantly down to about 2800 hertz. There we go. So we're going to be working with just the top 2 bands. We're not going to really do anything with the bottom 2 bands because we don't want to compress the low frequencies at all. What we want to do is we want to compress these mid-high frequencies just a touch, and the sibilant higher frequencies that make her sound so bright a little bit more, but still gently. So what we're going to do is our mid-band here. So this is all compressor number 3 here. In our mid-band, we're going to set our compression threshold right here from the starting point to -15. We're going to set this to -25. And for the upper band, we're going to set this to -32. And normally you just sit here and play around with it and, you know, go with what sounds the best. But I've already done that, and I know what settings that I use that sounded good. Now, right below the compression threshold is the compression ratio. So we want to compress a little bit more on the upper band. So let's go with like a 6 to 1 ratio. And I typed in 6 and it gave me 5.7. So let's try a little bit higher. Let's try like 6.2 or 6.3. There we go. That's fine. And then in the third compressor, let's do a little bit less compression, maybe like 4. Try like 4.3. There you go. So we've got about 6 to 1 and 4 to 1 compression on both of these bands. So let's give this a listen and let's see what it sounds like.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be.
And you can see down here when it was playing.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me.
The light blue bar is the input signal. That's before it's been compressed. The dark blue bar is after it's been compressed. So it sounds like it's almost too warm now. It's a little too, we've taken a little bit too much of the high frequencies out.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm...
So what we're going to do is let's try pulling up the compression threshold. You can actually do that by grabbing this upper little triangle here. This controls the compression threshold amount, as well as, you know, typing in values here. So let's play around with that and just pull it up a little bit so we're getting a little bit less compression on these upper two bands.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be.
There we go. So she's kind of more subdued. Again, here's the before with no effects.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me.
And then here's the after.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm...
So it's very subtle, but we're just trying to warm her up a little bit so she fits in with this intro section better. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add reverb, and all of our vocal tracks are eventually going to use the same reverb. So we are going to use a send, bus and a send, and an aux track to create reverb. So I'm going to just click on her track, go down to her blank send slot here, go to bus, and we're already using bus 1 for the intro verb for the instruments. So let's use bus 2 for the vocal reverb. And you'll notice that automatically right to the right of it, the aux track that it creates is there, and it's assigned to bus 2 as an input assigned to bus 2. If for some reason that goes away, like if you click somewhere else, sometimes it'll actually show like there you go, like the stereo output instead. If you just click on the bus itself, it'll pop back up. Or you can just go to you can open your mixer as well, but I'm trying to avoid doing that here. So I'm just going to call this vocal reverb, vox reverb. There we go. We're going to use Space Designer, of course. It's showing that it's mono or mono to stereo. If you get this option, it's because you didn't set the bus to stereo. We want it to be stereo. And then we're going to go down to reverb, Space Designer, and you'll notice that stereo pops up now. So here's Space Designer. The one we're going to use is under large spaces, plate reverbs, vocal plate. Let's pull the reverb amount all the way up and the dry signal all the way down. Let's pull up our send amount up a touch and let's see what that sounds like.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be. Tell me how I'm fearless, tell me I'm your weakness. You got it bad, so bad, so bad.
Yeah, the reverb to me sounds like it's a little too quick, like the delay of it's a little too quick and a little too bright. One of the really cool things that I love about Space Designer is it has the ability to lower the sample rate on the reverb signal. So you can lower the sample rate by half, and what it does is it makes the reverb seem like twice as long, a lot more distant sounding, but also a lot darker and deeper sounding.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need.
So it's much more ambient now. So let's give that a listen.
Tell me how you love me, tell me that you need me, tell me that I'm everything you want me to be. Tell me how I'm fearless, tell me I'm your weakness.
there we go. All right, so I think I'll save the delay for the next video, because what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to create one of our first transitions, and we're going to use delay feedback to create a transition that tails out of the vocals here into the first verse. If you listen to the original produced track, you'll notice there's this sort of like vocal delay feedback effect going into the verse. We're gonna mimic that, and we're gonna create that effect with delay. But I don't have enough time in this video to do that. So in the next video, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add delay to her vocals, and we're gonna use the feedback in the delay to create that sort of fading in feedback delay transition. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.